Okay, which I almost forgot to do. So now I'm recording to English, and we're doing the normal things that we usually do, which is, let me see, which is if you need interpretation, today's presentation will be in English. So please go ahead and select the interpretation of English or French. Even if you're speaking English, you should still go ahead and select interpretation English or French, because we do hope to have some of our Francophone colleagues commenting today as well. We're still admitting people. Another thing that's, let me see, that I wanted to bring up, I guess it's just our topic. So today's topic is going to be a little bit of a zoom in on one of the slides that we have on our 12 deck slide pitch, which is the investment ask. So we do hope that you guys have been starting to work on your pitch decks, and we even want to invite people to pitch today after my presentation. I think this presentation is going to last the first hour. However, we also wanted to give you guys some more resources to think about how to make a compelling ask for your investors. So I'm going to present a few frameworks, and then also Will is going to be here to kind of represent the investor side about what they look for in those asks. So before we get started, I do want to invite people to use the question and answer box during this entire presentation. And even if you could, even starting now, if you feel called to want to present your company, I would love you to put your name in the question and answer box. So just go to the Q&A box and put your name, just put yourself and say, I want to pitch, because then we'll be able to go back and reference that later and invite you to pitch. And now I want to talk about what we'll be pitching today in the second half so that you can have it in your mind, and you can know if you can sign up in the Q&A box. Today we'll be asking anyone who wants to volunteer to pitch, to share their company with the entire cohort here. This pitch should be between 3 and 5 minutes, and you should be using your slide decks that you might have started to create already based on Looney's presentation. So anybody who has a slide deck, who started it, it does not have to be finished. The thing about slide decks is they're never finished. You can always make them better. However, there will be benefits if you are able to volunteer and pitch your presentation today. Some of those benefits include the fact that everybody on this call from all over Africa is going to see your company, and they're going to hear your ask. So for instance, if you're looking for a specific kind of expertise, a specific kind of partnership, everybody here is going to hear that, and they're going to think, do I know somebody, and can I reach out to you? So it's an opportunity for networking. Also, I see so many people who are always introducing themselves in the meeting chat, and it's nice, but it disappears so quickly. So if you have the chance to introduce yourself to everybody here for 3 to 5 minutes, it's going to be a really great way for people to get to know you. So I want to, again, encourage people to be brave, take that first step, and really improve your communication skills today by getting feedback, not only from Will and I, but we also, and Abdurrahman, but we're also going to open that opportunity to the entire cohort here to provide feedback. And from our years past, the people who are providing feedback really receive amazing support from the community here. So we want to encourage you to go in the Q&A box and say, I want to pitch. We'll be able to check that out. So perhaps to get started, I would actually, let me see, let me go to, I'm going to be sharing a few things. And actually to get started, I wanted to get started and share a couple of videos that I think we might find interesting.
I'll give you the $200,000 as venture debt.
Hold on.
Here's how it works.
I have, oops, hold on guys. So many things are going on right now.
Until you've returned
YouTube is playing and I have to stop it. Okay. Let me see.
The worst Shark Tank pitches of all time. I'm seeking $500,000.
Okay, I have, sorry guys, it's YouTube videos and I'm having a hard time here. But soon we'll be ready to go.
The worst Shark Tank pitches.
How do you pause this? Okay, perfect. And now I will share, excuse me, I will share advanced video. Where is it? Where do you go to share the video? Nope. Sorry guys, still trying to learn this. And share sound, optimized for video clip. Okay, okay, guys, so we are ready to share. So I would love everybody to watch this video. And when the video is done, I'm gonna have everybody watch this video. When the video is done, I want to open a short little conversation about what went wrong and what could have gone better. So to prime you a little bit, this video is called The Worst Shark Tank Pitch of All Time. So if you've got your pen ready or paper ready and just want to take really short notes, it's going to be about a minute, and it's going to be one of the worst pitches. So we want to hear from you what went wrong and what kind of lessons you could learn from this pitch. So here we go. And Will, if this doesn't work, can you please just, I'm gonna ask you to unmute yourself and tell me it doesn't work. But now I'm gonna start to play it and hopefully it will work. So I won't need to hear anything from you if it does work. Thank you, Will. All right, here goes the video.
Of all time.
I'm seeking $500,000 in exchange for 3.14% of my company. Everybody has bad habits. And for some of us, they're minor. Nail biting, hitting the snooze button. But for others, they can be much more serious. Meet Pavlok, the first wearable that doesn't just track what you do, but actually changes what you do. Pavlok helps you become aware by alerting you when you do behaviors you'd like to reduce. Then simply press the button, and Pavlok releases a mild electric sensation that helps you reduce cravings. You can laugh, but it's actually something very serious.
I am laughing.
It releases a mild electric sensation that helps you reduce cravings and actually breaks bad habits in the brain. I would take an offer from anybody besides Mr. Wonderful.
You're a get the out of here.
Oh! Are you all out?
Yeah, we're all out. I would love one of those if I'm unproductive. Like, every time I open TikTok, just give me a little shock. The worst Shark Tank pitches.
Okay, I don't know about you, but I'm laughing a little bit. And I wonder if I could invite anybody who wanted to comment on a few things that they saw that they can name that kind of went wrong. So I'm looking for people to perhaps raise their hand here. So if you're able to raise your hand and just share a few things that went wrong with that pitch. You can also put in the meeting chat. Somebody says, can we play the video again? I will play the video again, okay? Let me play the video again, and then we'll talk about it, okay? So get your hands ready on that button. I'm gonna play it again as soon as I can figure out how to, and I think I did. So here we go. I'm gonna try and press play now. Let's see.
Of all time.
I'm seeking $500,000 in exchange for 3.14% of my company. Everybody has bad habits. And for some of us, they're minor. Nail biting, hitting the snooze button. But for others, they can be much more serious. Meet Pavlok, the first wearable that doesn't just track what you do, but actually changes what you do. Pavlok helps you become aware by alerting you when you do behaviors you'd like to reduce. Then simply press the button, and Pavlok releases a mild electric sensation that helps you reduce cravings. You can laugh, but it's actually something very serious.
I am laughing.
It releases a mild electric sensation that helps you reduce cravings and actually breaks bad habits in the brain. I would take an offer from anybody besides Mr. Wonderful.
You're a get the out of here.
Oh! Are you all out?
Yeah, we're all out. I would love one of those if I'm unproductive.
Okay. Now I'm wondering if people are ready with a few things that might have gone wrong in this video, in this pitch presentation. So I'm looking for some hands. We've had a chance to watch it a couple times. I see Jean Bosco, sure, go ahead, let me, sorry, it keeps popping around. Okay, I've invited you to speak.
Hello, thank you. I saw in the beginning that the entrepreneur is seeking money against offering some shares in the company. I don't know the threshold of the amount or if it is necessary to raise that in the beginning, or he should have started by explaining what the product is and how he intends to produce. And then it talks about finances later.
Well, I think that's maybe what he was doing, but yeah, great point, which is how much money is he actually asking for? Thank you, Jean Bosco. So it's not clear in this pitch exactly what he's asking for, but I think it is clear that he started to already have a bias against one of the investors, and maybe that didn't go so well for him.
Yeah.
Did anybody else have any other observations from the video that they wanted to share? Basically, if this were going to be your pitch, would you be happy with this? Okay. Not seeing too many comments, so I will comment on it. Oh yeah, Jean, would you like to make another comment? For sure.
To me, I think it was not a good pitch, because after he started talking on the products, some of the investors got shocked. I don't know. Maybe she commented on product which they might be aware and they know how the functionality, and then the entrepreneur is trying to give information maybe which are not coherent or matching with the product he's pitching for. So that's how I think the reaction from the investors were not good.
Yeah,
They was presenting. Yeah, there must be something wrong with the product we're talking about.
Yeah, I think you bring up a really good point, which is this is a completely new product. And so people are going to react to it, you know, however they react. And that's okay, that's their reaction. And, you know, maybe what the entrepreneur needed to focus on was how he would respond and how he would respond to keep it positive. I would like to go to Lakian and see any comment that you would have.
Yeah, I just was going to say something similar in terms also of he has them engaged, he has a reaction. And so then if you have an investor who's at least reacting to your product, it's a good sign. So I don't understand really like why you would automatically at the end of it then kind of say like, I'm open to money from anybody except the individual who is like actually interacting with your pitch.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like what they say, like no, like all publicity is good publicity. And so yeah, when people are interacting at that point, they're listening to you. The hook, you know, that story that Looney would be talking about has been put there on the ground. And maybe the people don't believe you at first, but that's where you can kind of make your case a little bit more. And I think that's a really good point. Why be so mean to one investor? They all are friends. They all said, well, now we're out because you basically were really rude to one of our colleagues. So none of us are going to interact with you. Will, last the video.
Just to build off that, even from the perspective of an investor, he came off a little too overconfident at the end, a little too arrogant to say, I'm open to offers from this group, which is, you know, not it's not humble. It's okay to be confident about your business, or it's okay to you should know all the details of your business, but to speak that way is it's a bit over the top. And then to Lakin's point and your point, if you make a bad impression with one investor, one group of investors, it is true, they all do speak to each other. So even if you think you're not going to get money, or you don't think you're going to get along with them personally, it's always good to be extremely polite, because you never know who is friends with who, or who speaks with who, or who ends up meeting and discussing different companies that they like or dislike. And it goes the other way too. You know, if you're really polite and wonderful, but it doesn't match up with one investor and they like you as a person, they might be able to move you on to someone else where it might be a good match. So it goes both ways. This is a bad example, but if you reacted differently, it could turn out very well for you, even if someone in the room isn't ready to be your partner.
I think that's a really amazing point. And we've had a few more people join us since we've started this exercise. So just to remind people, we're checking out a couple of videos from Shark Tank as an example, and to kind of get us in the mindset of how do we ask for investors in a way that can kind of work for them or not. And we're coming across some really good concepts. And I wanted to probably move ahead to the second video. Again, it's a short video, and people can listen to it. I'll go ahead and we'll watch it twice because that seemed to work out well. So I'll just go ahead and put it on twice. And then this video, just to kind of prep you for it, is going to be a little bit better. So there might be things in this video where you said, oh, like that went well, or I liked that the entrepreneur did this, or the interaction between the investors were like this. So just to give you a little heads up, that might be the kind of thing that we're looking for this time. And I will need a second to once again find where my video is, because I'm not seeing it yet. Hold on, sorry. I'm not seeing where to share my, oh, there it is, sorry. Where to share my, here it is. But I need to, okay, share, but at the same time, this bar is in the way, and at the same time, I need to open up this link. There's so many things in the way. Sorry, guys. Almost there. Okay, so pretty soon we should be able to.
I'll give you the $200,000 as venture debt. Here's how it works. I'm going to ask you for 6% of everything you sell until you've returned me $800,000. Okay?
That's exactly what I would do.
And then it goes away. It's gone. And I want 3% equity for providing this facility. You can counter if you think that's unfair, or you may find a better deal and give up more equity. I don't know.
So I'm quadrupling the amount of money that you give me, and in exchange, you're keeping 3% of my company? Is that right?
You have no money, and maybe one of these sharks will give you the money, but you're going to give up 8% of your company for it, or more. I'll give you the $200,000 as venture debt. Here's how it works. I'm going to ask you for 6% of everything you sell until you've returned me $800,000. Okay?
That's exactly what I would do.
And then it goes away. It's gone. And I want 3% equity for providing this facility. You can counter if you think that's unfair, or you may find a better deal and give up more equity. I don't know.
So I'm quadrupling the amount of money that you give me, and in exchange, you're keeping 3% of my company? Is that right?
You have no money, and maybe one of these sharks will give you the money, but you're going to give up 8% of your company for it, or more.
Okay, so we watched that one twice. Now I will admit there were a lot of numbers there. However, I want us to focus on maybe the interaction. So I wondered if anyone at this point saw different interactions, saw a different feel to how this conversation was going on. And if you wanted to comment on that, again, looking for a hand up of anybody who might want to comment on what they saw on the second video. I see Germaine. Let me see what happened. Did the hand stay up? Yep, I see Germaine, so I will invite you to speak. Yes, Germaine, thank you.
Merci beaucoup pour la parole. J'ai suivi la vidéo.
Thank you very much for giving me the floor. I listened to the video and I realized that in the discussion, someone wanted to impose
qu'on lui donne l'argent.
his will. He wanted to propose that they give him money, but he wanted the other to accept the 3% equity. So I realized that there was no collaboration because one wanted to impose his will. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Germaine, for that observation. Yeah, I think it was very interesting. So the investor was making his offer and pretty much saying to the entrepreneur, this is my offer. You might find a better offer, but you might not. So here it is. And then it looked like the entrepreneur was maybe having a response to that. And that's maybe where this video differed from the first one. I see John Bosco with hand again. Please go ahead.
Thank you. On the video, the investor is having like two offers. One is to give a venture debt, and he will be getting 6% of everything sold, 6% on sales. The other option was giving like an equity, and then he gets 3% in the equity. So it seems that the entrepreneur was having maybe a different, was expecting a different answer compared to both offers. That's why she got like being astonished of the two offers. And she started now explaining, you give this and in exchange to this. So although there was this kind of conviviality, but the entrepreneur, it seems, did not wish to go for the options compared to the reaction, how he's been explaining. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, definitely. And I also wondered if Will had any observations on how this on how this interaction was going as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Much better, first of all. I think he you know, he had a notepad, which is one thing. Clearly he was engaged. I think someone said that at the beginning, which was good. And I think, Amanda, you said something at the beginning, which is good, that, you know, there's a lot of numbers in that clip, which definitely will happen. Probably won't happen the same way in terms of on the spot having to make a negotiation like that, but it's a good thing to highlight, right? That at some point, you probably will have to go back and forth on different numbers. You will have to think about how much you think your business is worth, how much it's worth to you, how much other people might think it's worth, and how much you're willing to negotiate on that, how much you're willing to think personally about how much you can give up. I think my screen might have froze. Okay, now I'm back.
No, yeah, you're good.
Okay, so that's super important, is to think about the value, so that when you get to those conversations, even if someone is asking you those questions, not for a final agreement, you have some responses, because an investor is going to want to be able to see that you've thought about it, about how you value your company. And I know Amanda's going to get into the importance of a financial model and how to get there, but the reason that we have that session is because these conversations needs to happen. And there's tools that can help you understand the valuation and how your business works in the eyes of someone who's going to be valuing it from the outside. And I think the other thing, which would be good to mention, is that there's a lot of different types of investment, right? Everything, I mean, some people are in this room are at the point where a grant of a few thousand US dollars would make a great difference, and that's what you need for this moment. And at some point, a small loan would make a difference. And at some point, an equity investment would be the right call. And I think it's also good to think about the details of every agreement and make sure you read through them and really understand the partnership that you're about to engage in, right? Because it's not going to be something that you shake someone's hand and the partnership ends there. It's, you know, it could be a very long-term arrangement. So it's important to understand those details. And you can see how confusing it can get in just a couple of minutes in that exchange. And so when this deal comes in front of you, it's worth taking the time to really sit down and understand it.
Yeah, and that's what I liked about this entrepreneur, was that he was, as you saw, he was taking notes on what the investor was offering. And he actually asked the question to clarify it. And I know that the investors were kind of laughing at it when he asked the question. Investors can do what they want, by the way, they're allowed to laugh. But the entrepreneur was very respectful. He just was clarifying. So I will quadruple your money, like I will give you back 4 times what you're originally giving me. Because basically he was getting $200,000 from the investor. So I have to give you back $800,000, maybe, and 6% of my sales, and you still want 3% of my company for that. And he was just bringing that up, and I think the investors laughed because it sounded like a really expensive deal. So another lesson from this is you don't have to take any deals that don't feel like they are the right fit for you, which was what Will was saying, to know how much you need the money and how that money is going to help you. Because sometimes, even if money can be expensive, if you know that it's going to help you, let's just say triple your revenues in 1 year, it might be worth it, and then just pay them off, get on with it. Now you have a 3-time larger company. So that's where financial modeling can come in to help you guys know what you're looking for investors. So kind of with that, I will go on to my slides as soon as I figure out how to one more time. I think I figured it out. And I'll start some of the presentations. And as usual, our slides are going to be available afterwards, and the recording is going to be available afterwards. We have found out that many of the different entrepreneurs from around Kenya are even having a harder time joining us. So we're definitely going to have this available for everybody to see. Let me see. So we have watched the videos and we had a little discussion, which is awesome. And next, I think we've discussed a little bit about why you care about the financial ask. And I wonder, Will or Abdulrahman, do you guys both have the ability to look at the participants tab and admit people as they keep joining?
Yep, we do. We'll stay on that.
Okay, cool. That sounds great. I'll close that window then. So we talked a little bit about why you should care about the financial ask, because if you need to care about how you're interacting with the investors. Because if you don't think about it ahead of time, it might be easy due to feelings. Your feelings might feel hurt, so you might get defensive, or you might not be well prepared. And if you're not really well prepared, you might see more of a first type of video situation where conversations don't go as well as they could. Whereas every interaction with an investor actually has the potential, as Will said, to actually lead you to more conversations or to more introductions to other people that might be relevant for you still. So we want to make sure that you're prepared and that you have a financial ask that at least makes sense. So sometimes on Shark Tank, actually, the entrepreneur says how much money they want, and then the investors actually come back and tell them the terms. That's actually a little bit similar to what happens in real life. Is you might have to determine how much you want and why, and talk about what that funding is going to do for you. And then you're out there in the marketplace and other investors are going to come back to you. So we care about the financial ask for many reasons: keeping the credibility with investors you meet, creating your own vision for growth, because this is your company, it's your job to grow it. You've got to create that vision, to build your boundaries and to know what kind of funding is going to be too expensive for you. How much will the funders be asking that might be too expensive for you to pay back? And it might cost you more to get funding than to not get funding. Also, when you know about how to create your financial ask, you'll be able to identify and align your own business priorities and be able to communicate your vision for growth. So basically, this is all about you building a future for your company. So we hope that you want to do that. And the rest of the presentation, we're going to talk about different building blocks of how you could start to do that. And there's been a lot of concepts here, and we're going to culminate in a pretty simple exercise. So part one, what is a financial model? Part two, we're going to go through is understanding and communicating your constraints to growth. And part three is putting together different financial scenarios to increase investor interest. We'll tell you about each of those parts as we go forward. So the goal of the session is to understand how to start a financial model, understand appropriate venues and stakeholders to share your vision with, and use financial scenarios to increase your likelihood of confirming investors. So those are some pretty cool goals right now. You might have a lot of questions, but in the end of the hour, you're going to have a lot of roadmap on how to answer these questions for yourself. There's no one answer for everybody here, but you're going to have frameworks so that you can build your own answers to how to use your own financial scenarios to increase your likelihood of confirming investment. Awesome. So when I say this again, genius is 1% talent, which you guys are amazing talents, and 99% hard work. So get ready to think a little bit as we go through today. What is a financial model? Part one. I want to take a break again, just to remind you guys to use question and answer box, as you might find questions popping up as we go through some of this. And also one more advertisement, that if you'd like to pitch, also say I want to pitch and put that in the question and answer box as well. So most people should know where the Q&A box is, and we do hope you use it throughout this session. We'll be checking it. So financial model, this is getting on the same page, and you're also going to have this presentation following so that you can check on any of the links that we have here for more information. Financial model, often you combine historical and projected financial information to make business decisions. Most people here are keeping track of their finances. We asked that in our welcome survey, and most people are keeping track of what expenses they have and what income they have, and they're able to put that together into a profit and loss. And that's a huge first part of understanding how to create a projection. Second bullet point, objective of financial modeling is combining accounting, finance, business metrics to create a forecast of a company's future results. So again, we're trying to build a future that is one that you want. Maybe it's a future where you have 10 locations of your business instead of one, or maybe it's where maybe your product is being sold in 3 grocery store chains, and maybe that's 100 grocery stores throughout your country. Maybe it's a future where you were able to get enough money to get processing let's say machinery, and now you're able to triple the output. Or maybe it's one where you can bring on 5,000 farmers, where today you're at 1,000. So you create your future and you figure out how to get there through finances. It can represent your financial health and how it's expected to evolve over time under certain assumptions. So for instance, one of those assumptions might be, what if I get no funding? Then what do I do to grow? The other one might be, what if I get, $5,000? What do I use to make that grow? And so we need to think about different scenarios, which is what we'll do by the end of this today. So financial model can help with a lot of things. It's a roadmap that shows us how choices we make today will affect our future. Outputs of financial models can be used for making decisions in so many ways. So these are just different decisions that you can make once you understand your finances. You might be able to decide if you're going to try and raise capital, debt, or equity, if you're going to be able to purchase businesses or purchase assets such as machinery. You're going to decide if you should grow the business organically and how can you do that, opening new stores, entering new geographies, if you will sell or divest any of your assets. If there's any products you're making that aren't profitable, you might decide to cut that after you look at your financial model. So there's all these different things that you can do with financial modeling. And we're going to play with just a few types today. Common uses, again, is you can use a financial model to help you qualify for a loan. So many of our companies have been able to show what their business model is and convince banks to give them money. You can also use it to test your business assumptions, to understand what are your channels of growth and identify the areas where you really want to invest that's going to make a big difference for your company. One of the big questions that you always want to ask yourself, and you might already know at the top of your head, is how is my company earning a profit? So are profits being driven by growth of revenues or by shrinking your expenses, or both? For some time you might be starting your business, and whatever you're producing, you're going to get better and more efficient at producing it, meaning that your costs of production are going to go down. So that might be growing your profit margin, or you might be able to increase the amount of money you sell your product for, or increase the number of products you're selling. So you just have to see, how are you going to grow your profitability, and have a plan for that operationally. So again, are your profit margins trending up or downwards, or staying steady? And do you see any time during the year or during the month where your company is generally short of cash? And when is that, and why? So for instance, you might be getting paid once a month by many of your purchasers. Maybe they all like to pay you on the first of the month. So maybe when you're getting to the ends of the month, your cash is a little bit low. So you have to be aware of these ups and downs so that you can manage for it. And then the financial models can help answer major questions. Why should somebody invest in your business? It's not enough to say, I have a business and this is what we do. Definitely should give us money because we are an impact business. That's not enough. You need the financial models to show your investors that they can be sure that you will use in the money you'll receive to make your business grow. So you have to tell that story about how that money is going to be used to make the business grow, therefore enabling you to pay them back at the agreed upon terms. And then the second thing is, well, what if you can't get external investment at this time for whatever reason? Maybe you're in a country, in a part of the country where there's not that many financiers who will offer you funds. Well, then what are you going to do to keep your business growing? So this is what your financial model can also answer. Can you reinvest your profits in order to grow? Can you ask family and friends for loan money? Can you invest savings that you have? Can you get credit from some of your providers? You know, like even sometimes, you know, you want to be upfront about this, but saying, can I pay you 2 weeks from now? Can I pay you a month from now? And if that will help you bridge the gap to grow, then that is a way to grow as well. So financial models can help you answer questions about how you will grow your business. And you can use your financial model to forecast future financial performance based on these assumptions that you've just made. So assumptions about sales, expenses, other factors such as obtaining loans or funding. If you'd like to read more about this, I found a really great website, and so you'll be able to access this once we put this on Restore Forward. So that was a lot about why it can be important, what you can do. Right now, I don't think anyone should feel overwhelmed. So if you are, let's just take a breath and let that go, because the whole point is you should know what you'd like to do with your financial plan. And today we're going to be talking specifically about how you can use a financial model to talk to investors about what you want to invest in and how that's going to help your business grow. So again, part 2 is one framework that you can use, that you can understand about your business that can help you do this. And that framework is understanding and communicating your business's constraints to growth. So I'm seeing constraints to growth as an input to your financial model. For instance, if you don't yet know what is a constraint to growth for your company, that's okay. But how can you convince others to fund you? And how can you prioritize investments in your company? So for instance, if you had no constraints to growth, then your company would be $1 billion company because it would just keep growing. But there's something that is not letting you grow. Let's identify what types of those are. Identifying your constraints to growth will help you identify what you can use your financing for. So I thought about this for the kind of companies that are in the land accelerator. There are probably way more constraints to growth can exist out there. But I wanted to think about the ones that a business could specifically affect as well. So for instance, a constraint to growth might be a policy that a country has in place. You probably cannot change that policy. So I'm trying to look at the things that you can change as a business owner if you put your efforts behind it. So for instance, perhaps your company is not able to sell all it's producing. You need more clients. So for instance, if you had more buyers, your company could easily provide more services or more goods if the clients were available. So if you have inventory sitting around, then you need more buyers. And that's your constraint to growth right now. But maybe you're selling everything you have. You're selling all of your product or all of your service. You can't get enough. And actually producing what you sell is the constraint to growth. If you could produce quicker or produce more, you could easily sell at least 50% more than you're selling now, if not twice as much. I say that because, you know, it could also be tough to find like 10 times as many clients right now. But if you are selling everything, then maybe you need to produce more. And some people related to that is maybe not production capacity, because maybe on the production capacity, I'm thinking about you need to process with machinery or with labor, you need to process a product a certain way. So I'm looking into raw materials supply also being a constraint to growth. So for instance, maybe you can't get enough essential oils from some of the trees. You can't get enough honey from the beehives. And so it's the raw material supply. You could easily manufacture and sell maybe 50% or twice as many things as you're selling now, if you could access more raw material. So perhaps when you're hearing this, one of these items is ringing a bell for you, and I want you to check that. So in the chat box right now, if you could, I'm inviting people to write down what out of these three is their primary constraint to growth at this moment. So I'd like to see the chat box start filling up with customers, production capacity, or raw materials at this point. So if you could write down one of those three, which one you feel is your constraint to growth, I think that could be pretty interactive. So I hope that you'll be able to do that. So again, I'm going to invite people to do that, and you can keep writing that in as we continue. So again, what is your constraint to growth? Customers, production capacity, or raw materials? Moving on next, I wanted to also tell you that these are simplified and that your primary constraint to growth can change over time. So if you can actually address one of your constraints to growth, then another one might change. So for instance, if you get a machinery that you wanted, now you're able to produce 5 times as much. Let's say it's roasted macadamia nuts, but you can't yet sell 5 times as much. Now your new constraint to growth is customers. Now you've got that machine, it's under your belt, awesome achievement. You know, you're able to go from selling 100,000 pounds to 200,000 pounds, but you have 500,000 pounds now that you have that machine. So now you want to focus your investment on sales and outreach to confirm new buyers. Just an example of how your constraint to growth can change. And so you always want to be watching this. And I'm definitely seeing some answers in the chat box right now, which is exciting. I see Alufemi says raw materials, he needs more. We have the clients, Bubakar says he needs more clients. Someone needs a machine. So you can see how even amongst the people who are writing here is that they are seeing different things as their constraints to growth. Atang and Abong say customers. Samuel says inventory. So I think that means he needs more inventory. So I want to thank you. Production capacity. I see 2 people saying that right away. It can be tough to get the funds you need, the investment, that fixed investment that can pay off in your company over time. Exactly. So moving on, I wanted to talk about each of those 3 in a little bit of detail. So if customers are your problem, and now this is very logical. This is very logical. So if customers are your problem, then you might get more customers by investing in marketing and sales teams, and analyzing your pricing, product research and development, understanding your target customers. So you have to look for that product market fit and develop outreach of a product that people want to buy. Your investment might be used for your sales team onboarding, for rebranding, for getting certifications that help you meet new markets. So for instance, a lot of our entrepreneurs want different certifications because once they get them, they've got a lot of buyers in different countries who are ready to buy from them. Also might be time to advertise. So this is just basic. In this presentation, I cannot cover how you can definitely get all your customers, but this is just to say, if this is your constraint to growth, then you need to look in this area, and you might want to ask for investment into this area, either investment of your own company funds, your profits, reinvesting your profits, or to seek investment externally. The next one is the processing capacity. So if you're not able to process enough, then you might need to buy certain machinery. Processing machinery, maybe it's a nut roaster, maybe it's a grinder. Part of processing might also be logistics and delivering it. So a truck might help you process more if that truck can help you collect more efficiently or distribute your items more sufficiently if transportation is a part of the service you're providing in your finished product. You might also need to be able to invest in the process that you use. Maybe you can process your materials differently that might be more efficiently or more cheaper if you use a different machinery or a different process. So for instance, an electric fruit dryer versus a solar fruit dryer might have completely different cost profiles. Maybe it's actually more affordable to get, let's just say 10 small solar dryers. Maybe there's someone who's selling them within Kenya. You don't have to, just for an example, you don't have to import, you don't have to wait at customs. Maybe if you purchase 10 of them, it is actually the same price or cheaper as purchasing a huge electric dryer. Maybe it will save you on electricity. So you look at different alternatives to get the output you need. That is one way you can also go about increasing your processing capacity. Your investment might be used for those categories: machinery, research and development, or truck purchases. And then next, right now, if you're constrained to growth is raw materials, which is actually sometimes really what people's constraint to growth is. In the Land Accelerator, we actually have many people who are either sourcing and then selling raw materials, or sourcing and then using the raw materials to produce something that they will sell. So sometimes they just can't get enough. That definitely happens to many of our companies who have received Terra Fund loans. They can produce more and more. They have a factory, and they need more farmers onboarded. So a constraint to raw materials might be addressed in different ways, involving more smallholder farmers in your system. It could also be addressed by intensifying those smallholder farmers that might be providing you raw materials. So maybe they have right now, let's just say, 5 mango trees on their farm. Is there space, and does it make sense for them to plant 15 more? If you could get 15 more trees on every farmer's land, maybe in 5 years, you're going to have more access to mangoes, for instance. It might be addressed by community engagement. So maybe you just need to educate your community about using your product or something. And maybe it's about getting your current raw materials providers to produce more. So I think I said that before. So either get more smallholder farmers to provide you, or you get your smallholder farmers to produce more than they already are right now. And so your investment in this case might be used in these categories. You might be investing in community trainings. Again, that might look like spending on transportation, on some salaries for community trainers for some of your staff. You might develop case study and other informative items that would support those community trainings so that farmers really would see the benefit of jumping on board with you. So, case studies looking at how this farmer succeeded because they worked with you. Like, how did they succeed? How much more money are they getting? How much less work do they have to do for that money? So because you want to actually convince people to work with you, these are your business partners. You also have to pitch them. Incentivizing community participation. So what I mean by that could be, are there bonuses that you have? So for instance, one of our entrepreneurs that you've heard from already, Sam Nyamboga, he incentivizes his gum Arabic collectors to come to one place. He creates a storehouse for them. And in that storehouse, they can trade their gum Arabic crystals for food. That's actually their currency. So by the pound or by the kilogram of how much crystals they bring, they can now purchase directly their food and other necessities, oil, rice, beans that they want and need. So it incentivizes the community to participate in his plan. And you can also front load your production. What I mean by that is if you need more trees or more crops of a certain type, you might create those nurseries yourself, or come into a partnership with a nursery that can provide those kind of trees. Because as we know, it can take anywhere from usually 3 to 5 or even 7 years for trees, once they're planted, to start being productive. So sometimes businesses like ours, businesses that are in the Land Accelerator, need to think strategically about how to get their more raw materials. So those were maybe a lot of ideas that you're familiar with. If you know what your constraint is, you can think about that very pointedly, and it will probably lead you to identifying what you want to make your investments in, whether it's an investment from your own business profits, your friends and family money, your own personal savings, or if you're going to be able to go out and seek external funding. You've now been able to identify a few things that you want to invest in. Go to the next slide. Let me see. Yes, and for each of the identified investment categories you want to make, you should then be able to estimate the intended outcome of the investment, which will feed into the financial scenarios that we're going to show you in a couple of slides. So again, this is about telling the story of how if someone invests in you, how that growth is going to happen, and therefore how the investor can imagine being repaid. So here is where we come to the conclusion. So again, I want to take a moment to take a breath. That was a lot of information. However, if you can apply that previous framework to yourself, hopefully you've been able to identify one or two of the constraints to growth and really focus in and select a few things that you think you should invest in. Now we want to talk about different financial scenarios that should be able to increase investor interest. So in this case, the financial scenarios that we're creating actually are a type of financial model. And it's a type of financial model that you can actually consider putting into your slide decks as you present to investors. Again, you will know based on your audience if this should go into your slide deck or not. That's the great thing, is that you can always easily update your slide deck based on your audience. But let's take a look at what I mean by different financial scenarios. I want to give you an introduction. This idea of building financial scenarios actually came with a member of a Fledge accelerator. So Fledge is the accelerator that Looney runs, and he'd been running it for, I don't know, 10 years before an entrepreneur actually came up with this himself. This technique actually got him funding. And because of that, he was able to share his technique, and Looney was very impressed with it, and so decided to start teaching it at some of his seminars. And that's how we have the idea that we're going to share with you today. So I think get excited. Let me go to the next slide. So what are we doing in these financial scenarios? Actually, we're going to create 3. And each of those is a different ask level. So when we get to our template that I'll share with you, there's going to be a template. There's going to be the first scenario, which is the smallest amount, which is the easiest things for you to get a loan for. We're going to have the dream scenario, which is the third amount, which is sometimes if you could get everything you want, what would that look like? Whether or not you can get that, it's good to show the vision, because an investor can see that vision. And then you have a middle area. Where it's like, this is if we can get some of the things that we want, but not all of the things. So there's going to be different things that you're going to be investing in for each of those 3 lines, and different expected business outcomes for those different levels of investment as well. Let me show you what I mean. Oh, I went over this already, sorry. The dream scenario is getting all the money you want. The second scenario is a little bit less. And the third scenario is only the easiest items that you can get financing for. Why should we create those 3 different levels? The thing is that investors feel comfortable investing at different levels. Some investors say, I want to just invest a little bit. Let me see how you do with it. Let me see if you communicate with me, if you pay me back as we agree upon, and if you're able to produce the results that you said with a small level of investment. And then, if that goes well, I'll be able to invest more. So you might find an investor that wants to start small. You might find an investor that says, actually, we have a floor. We can only invest $50,000. So you're going to need a plan that shows them that you can use that level of investment. And the thing is, as Will was saying before, you might not know which kind of investor you're talking to. So why not give them more options? The other thing is you give them different options, because if you only give one option, perhaps the investor says, this is not the program for me. And so you might end up with no money. But if you give them different levels of options, you might get some money, and some money might be better than no money. So if that feels like you, then you definitely want to give them different levels to invest in. With only one scenario, some investors may not feel comfortable giving you your scenario. I see so many presentations that says, we need $1 million. If we get $1 million, we're going to do $500,000 for a production plant, $500,000 for this. An investor might say, well, I'm not going to be able to invest $1 million. I don't have it, or I don't know them well enough. And they might not see the vision for starting with you in a smaller way. So we want to set those expectations that investors can see the vision of working with you at different levels, because once you start those conversations, that's where you can continue. So that's why we're doing 3 scenarios, not to make you work 3 times harder, but to give you 3 times more the chance to build a vision with anyone that you're presenting to. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so here's a spreadsheet. Oh, I see William with the comment. I would love to go to Will. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, Amanda, I just on your last point was such a good point about the ask for $1 million, you know, that example. And whether it's $1 million or 500,000, something that happens very often is people ask for too much everywhere, all over the world. It's not just a question of the Land Accelerator Africa.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a question of just Europe, right? It's all over. Often people ask for too much, which is a good sign that you have confidence and hope for your business for the long term. But I wanted to just say one thing we always tell people at Barca too, is that you should probably be asking for money more than once, right? So it's okay to ask for a smaller amount the first time and to keep building. It's okay to be able to be seeking more investments later on. It doesn't have to be one time. So over the course of your business, you might raise more than $1 million or more than what you first asked to begin with. And that might be your long-term vision. But when you do this first ask or second ask, you know, you can tell the investor what you hope to be doing in 5 or 6 or 10 years, and that might be a part of the model you show them. But keep in mind that first initial ask should really be within it should be tangible and material to what you think you should be able to be doing in the next 6 months or a year or so, something very concrete you're going to be doing with the funds.
Yeah, I think that's amazing to hear. And I think that's really why this original Fledge entrepreneur found that it worked for him. So now we're getting to, how do you actually do that? This spreadsheet, again, it might seem like, what's going on here? There's a lot of numbers. There's a lot of numbers. Okay, so let me see. Let me see. How am I going to do this in a way that makes the most sense for you? I think I'm going to skip this and I'm going to go to starting to fill this in. So again, you're all going to have access to this afterwards, if this is something you want to build for yourself. And because of that, I'm going to start you on this one. So there are actually 4 lines here: current, dream, medium, and bear. So I want to start you off with the current scenario. So for instance, you see I only have the 2 bottom lines filled in. That's your expected annual revenue and your expected annual profit. So these are like the big line items at the end that your investors might be interested in seeing. So in this slide, I put 2022. So you might have from 2023 right now, you might have your finances from 2023. So just update the year. But in this company example, they earned $100,000. I also put this in Kenya shillings just in case people found that useful. They earned $100,000 and 10,000 of that was profit. So 90,000 went to other expenses. And so we're just showing these key performance indicators of your business here because that might be interesting to compare with these next scenarios. So let me go ahead and go to the next scenario, which is on the next slide. So in this example, I'm starting to build out with my dream scenario. I chose to select my dream scenario first because according to Will, many of us see people saying, I want so much money. So if you want so much money, you know why, and you know how that's going to help you. Okay, you can put it in your dream scenario. So in this dream scenario, I identified 4 things that I wanted to buy for my company. I wanted to buy a truck, processing machinery, I wanted to have working capital because now I need to purchase more raw goods from my network. And I need to construct a warehouse to put all this stuff in. Maybe that's a place where I park my truck and I process my goods. And all of this together is going to cost $250,000. But I expect that when I have all of this stuff, I will be able to sell $250,000. So more than double my sales from what it is today. I'll be able to more than double my sales if I can get all of that stuff. And not only that, I'm going to be able to increase my profit margin. So it's not like just $25,000 will be my profit margin. No, it's going to be $35,000. How do I know this? Because somewhere else I've thought it through. So this is just the summary that you might be providing to your investors, potential investors. So this is my dream scenario. I'm going to pitch, I'm going to say, listen, funders, I want $250,000. If I can do that, I'm going to increase sales by 2.5% in a year and increase my profit margin by 3.5 times, excuse me. And that might sound great, you know? Now I go next to the bear scenario. Why? Because this helps you understand what might be the easiest thing to get financing for. In this example, I would imagine it might be a truck. Why? I don't know, because trucks can often be used as collateral. There might be more financial institutions who have products ready to sell to purchase, who have products, loan products, where you can get vehicles with the loan products. So I said, what if the only financing you can get is to buy a truck? Would you go for it? Maybe you would. Let's take a look. So I have a loan for $30,000 for a truck. What will having that truck allow me to do? Will allow me to pick up and deliver many more things that I'm doing right now. Right now, I'm relying on a third-party company. Right now, people have to bring, let's just say, their cashew nuts to me in bags. I'm not sure. This is what you have to know. But let's say that a truck will help you increase your revenue up to $150,000 and increase your profit from $10,000 to $15,000. You know, at this point, does it make more sense for you to get a truck? You're now making $5,000 more year in profit. So you'll be able to pay off the truck in 6 years. 5,000 times 6 is $30,000. Maybe in 7 years. Is it worth it to you? You can decide. But this is where your calculations will help you come in. And now we have a medium scenario. Maybe in your medium scenario, you can get a truck for $30,000 because that's how much it costs. Maybe you can only put $20,000 instead of $40,000 into working capital. Maybe you won't construct a warehouse. Maybe you'll continue to rent one, and you'll get a machine. But instead of getting a big machine, you'll get a smaller machine, and that will result in you seeking $90,000 in financing. But it will also result in you increasing your income to $200,000 and your profit to $20,000 a year. So these are all different scenarios that you have. And in each of these scenarios, you should be confident about what you're going to put your money towards and how much. So for instance, now for the investor, you have 3 asks for them. Listen, you can come in at $30,000, you can come in at $90,000, or you can come in at $250,000, right? And here are the scenarios, and here's what I'm going to spend the money on in each scenario, and here's what I expect to get out of it. So this is just to give your investor options to look at. Obviously, if they're interested in talking to you, you'll have to go in future conversations into more details into which scenario, what goes into which scenario, how you've calculated how much revenue you're going to get, if it can pay for the financing, all of those things. But this is how to get that conversation started. So again, let me see if there's anything that I wanted to cover besides just that. Nope. We went through how to build out those scenarios. And this is something that when we've done this in an in-person meeting, we've done this a couple times in in-person meetings, I will be honest with you, it takes entrepreneurs about 15 minutes to create this. I see most entrepreneurs are very clear on what they want to put their money towards. Now, they might have more items than I have here. I only have 4 items: truck, processing machine, working capital, warehouse. They might have 10 items, but using this template, this framework, they're really easily able to create that dream scenario, which has, let's say, all 10 of their items. And then they're really easily able to hop over to this, what we call the bear scenario, where they don't only have a few things that they can get financing for. So I really see that entrepreneurs can do this quickly. And so I hope that that will also be the same for you. And once you're able to do that, I hope that you'll be able to use it when you are pitching to your entrepreneurs. So for instance, I have these 2 slides here, this slide and the next one, to talk about how you might integrate this into your pitch deck when it's appropriate, depending on your audience. So this is a very simple thing. This is, you could have the ask in detail for each level. So for instance, this is the ask in detail for one of the scenarios, where you lay out the use of funds here, the amount there, and the expected impact. So this is where you can actually talk about not just putting in the revenue, but you talk about how. So this slide actually gives things in detail. So whereas this one is the overall, now maybe you want to have a slide for each scenario in case the investors want to talk about it more. So let's say this is your dream scenario. Now you're going to be able to tell them, listen, I'm going to build cold storage rooms. Here's the expected impact. It's going to increase my sales volume from 1 ton to 2 ton because I'm able to keep my products longer. I have reduced the wastage, and so it's going to double my revenue, etc. That's where you can start to give them more of that conceptual. If they need to start to believe how you're going to increase your revenue, this kind of slide could get you there. So I'm going to buy a delivery truck for $10,000. That's going to save me $3,000 each month, because right now I'm renting a truck for $2,500 a month, and I'm paying, I don't know, $500 in gas. I don't know, but you can tell them how buying this machinery is going to save so much money. You can show them the mechanism in which it's going to pay off itself. So I'm going to invest in creating a nursery that has the capacity to create 100,000 seedlings per year. Well, why would I want to do that? Because it's going to increase our supply of 100,000 trees to 200,000 trees in 5 years from now, allowing me to double my revenue. So you're going to be able to make these narratives that you'll tell for each thing you're investing in. So that's an idea of how to put that into your slide deck. And the next one is, this is another one. This is just another format. So this is, let's say it's for your $250,000 ask. So again, your dream scenario. You'll say that all of that investment will double your income to $250,000, whereas maybe you were making $125,000 before. And now you tell them what you're investing in down there. Then you can say that you are going to you're going to purchase processing machinery, you're going to get a truck, you're going to use working capital, and you're going to construct a warehouse. And you might say that you're seeking a loan to do this. You might say you're seeking equity. So this just starts to format it in a different way. So you can, as an entrepreneur, determine how you want to format this information. But the important thing is that it will be clear for your investor to read, whether you show them this presentation once, and then you want to show them one of these to go into each ask in more detail. So that is a culmination of how you can use your thoughts on what is constraining your growth to help you figure out what areas you'd like to be investing in and why. And then once you figure that out, to put that here on this template, on this Excel template that you can put into your ask deck, and then to maybe create different slides for each scenario if the investors want more information. So these might go into your annex. So again, this was a lot of information to help you coalesce key performance indicators, key investment areas into very easy to read and easy to understand options that you can present to investors. And again, This is a new idea. Most people in most pitch presentations around the world just put one number in their pitch. We're inviting you to consider putting 3 numbers in your pitch. In this example, you're seeking funding from $30,000 up to $250,000 because it's pretty easy to understand, and your investors will then be able to ask questions around which level they feel more interested in engaging with. And it will also show them that you have a path for growth. So even if you really just want to start engaging at the $30,000 level, you'll be able to show them, no, I've got a plan. I've got a plan to more than double my income if and when we're ready for it. So it does everything for you to put 3 scenarios out there. And that's the main thing that's different from most pitch decks. So with that, I think I wanted to just remind you again that the problem is not that you might lose credit or money, but it's trust. So everything that you've learned here, beginning from the videos we looked at, ending to how you can clearly communicate different levels of financing that you're seeking, is about building trust in you as a person and in your company. When the people have trust in you, that is when they will start to have more conversations with you to see if it's something that can happen. We wanted to take you through this level of detail because we know from our previous presentations, of course, led by the Barca Fund and Looney, that investment is something that can be very difficult, but we also know it's something that many of our entrepreneurs have been able to do. So we wanted to do that, and I think this does take me to the end of the presentation. So I wanted at this time, there's a couple things coming up. I wanted to, check if Will has additional comments. 2, I would want to encourage people in the question and answer box again, if they have any questions from this presentation, how to apply it. If you want to share any input or ask us any specific questions about how to apply this to your business, this is a great place. Any question you ask is going to help out other people. So we invite you to find that Q&A box. And we also invite you to find that Q&A box if you want to pull up your pitch. And later on today, after we're done doing question and answers, if you'd like to present your company to the people here. And I know I haven't seen anybody in the Q&A box raising their hand or volunteering. I have to say that's very strange. Last year, we would have people fighting over it. We didn't have enough time. So I do hope that people will come forward. And with that, with that, go ahead, Will, thanks.
Yeah, so just, you know, I've got 4 people noted down thus far who volunteered to pitch.
Nice.
So I've got all your names down, so I will get to that, which is great. But more people are definitely welcome, like Amanda said. The only thing I'd add, Amanda, is just on your last point about having the 3 options, you know, whether you have the 3 options on your actual slides, or you have them in your head, or you've done out the scenario with the models. I think one of the important things to consider in the lesson to take away is also that when you make the ask for financing, that you're going to have to be flexible. The odds that you get exactly what you're looking for is unlikely, and you should expect someone to come back and say, maybe, but not exactly that deal. And it's okay to go back and forth. Remember that the investor kind of has the upper hand, so you might have to agree to something you don't love 1000%, but it's okay to be flexible. You should expect to be flexible and not be extremely rigid in that. There's some things which for yourself you should know, okay, if it's a deal where you think you can't pay someone back, where it's not going to turn out good for your business in the long run, it's okay to say no as well if you don't think it's the right partnership. But to be flexible, I think is the big takeaway from having those 3 options, to realize that there's not one path to this financing or fundraising request. There can be multiple different options, different amounts, different types of investment, different types of investors who can become your partner.
I think that's an awesome point, the need for flexibility all throughout. And I think that along with that line, that's also useful. That's even where having 3 scenarios is useful, because you even start the conversation by saying, hey, I'm flexible. Here's 3 ideas that I'm flexible on. And then you continue that flexibility. And also, as you said, Will, know your limits as well, and make sure your limits are well calculated so that you're not putting your own limits that will never let you get funding. So for instance, you might think, oh my gosh, I have to pay 24% interest and that's so expensive. You need to know if it is so expensive, because at the end of the day, you might be making more than 24% if you get the funding. And 24% might be the market rate because perhaps inflation is 20% in your country. So things can often seem really expensive, and they often are, but this is a numbers game at the end of the day. So before you accept deals, you want to make sure that the numbers work for you actually. And you also don't want to cut off something that would work for you because you feel like it's too expensive and you feel like your feelings are hurt or something. No, no, no. These are all business decisions that will work out because your incentives between you and any potential investor would align. And therefore, you can grow your business, the investor can make more money or get more impact, and it aligns. So it's business decisions, and it's not personal. And so I think that's going back to the first video again, that's where the first entrepreneur went wrong, was he made it personal. He says, I'll take investment from anybody except for Mr. Wonderful. Like that was a personal thing, you know, like, well, why wouldn't you take from Mr. Wonderful? Perhaps, you know, at least be open. You know, maybe Mr. Wonderful laughed at you while you were giving a pitch, but you know, people can have conversations and they can change their minds. So it's not personal. It's always, are we able to make this work or not? And I think so many people in this room here, so many of the 126 people who are watching us today, you guys are no beginners at making deals. You guys have been making deals for years. So this is just another way to help you make deals even better. I did see a hand up, but I think it went down. So did anybody have additional questions? Oh no, Joseph, let's have you ask your question. Joseph Kabangi.
Merci beaucoup de la parole nous accorder.
Thank you very much for giving me the floor.
Yes, we can hear you.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. Despite the poor connection, we really tried our best to be online. As far as today's presentation is concerned, it's very interesting because we have more background knowledge on how we can organize our financial modeling and, you know, speak with the investors. So I wish to know the financial model you're proposing here today. Are we going to add it as far as the deliverables are concerned, or are we just to include it in our pitch deck?
Okay, that's a really great question. Thank you so much, Joseph. This is something you can add to your pitch deck, and you know, you can have your investor ask look like however you want. But if you like this, this might be you know, a way to deal with that slide in a way that makes you feel confident. So this is another tool that you can use, and you can put it in your slide deck. So it will not be a separate deliverable itself. And, you know, following this exact module is also not, this exact format is not required. These are all tools that you can use. I will see Isaac with the hand.
Thank you so much. Your presentation was very powerful. But I have a question. Is it applicable for all types of investors? Because there are some investors who might not be very interested in giving more options. It's an assumption. Thank you.
Okay, I think that's always important, and also I would like Will maybe to answer this one as well. Will, would you want to take it first?
Sure. Yeah. Whether it's this Isaac, whether it's this exact model, or not. All different types of investors, ones that are only concerned with the commercial side of your business, ones that are concerned with the social and environmental impact of your business, ones that are making debt investments, ones that are making equity investments, those that do a mix, those that are short-term or long-term. What they all want to be able to see with the financial model is that you know your business well, that you have thought deeply about your business, that how it works, how the cash flow works, when you're getting paid, when you have to make payments, how you make money, and so that they can get their money back as well, right? That's their goal at the end of the day. So no matter which type of investor it is or the exact model or presentation that you give, the point is to show to the investor that you know exactly how your business model works, you know it in great detail to the extent that you're able to show these projections, you're able to think about the future in a very in-depth way, in a very concrete way, and in a very logical way. Because if you just say, I want 100,000 because I think with 100,000 I can grow, that's not enough of an argument. And so having the model, no matter who they are, having the model shows them what you're thinking about. Because it's good to have a plan, even internally among your team, if you're on the same page about growth. But part of the reason the model exists is to communicate that plan in a very standard way so that other people outside of yourself and outside of your own organization can understand who you are and how you're trying to grow. So I hope that answers the question, Isaac. If there's a follow-up, let me know.
That's awesome. And I want to also answer, Isaac wrote one in the chat. Isaac, again, I can't see the whole, it's, sorry, cuts off your name. But Isaac H wrote in the chat, in the Q&A box, another one, which was, there's different kinds of funders. And I would say that that's true. And so something I've seen other entrepreneurs do is, if you're approaching one funder who does one type of funding, so let's say it's even just your local bank and all they do is, out of all the things you need, all they will do is let's say working capital loan, then you show them everything that you can to show them that this working capital loan is going to work. But you can also show them on the on the side, like, we're also seeking funding for this, this, and this from these people, if that's relevant. Anything that you can do that makes it relevant. So it depends on which kind of investor you're working with. Maybe you're working with an investor and all they're going to do is a vehicle loan. So then you need to focus on that and say, look, we're getting this vehicle loan, and we're also in conversations with these people who we're also going to bring on this kind of funding to do this. Sometimes funders actually love that, because if I'm giving you a vehicle loan and you're seeking equity from other people, and you are farther along in that conversation, as the person who's going to give you money, if I know you're also getting equity, it's like, oh, wow, that's cool, because he's going to bring on additional funds that are going to have him do processing and have a warehouse. So it's going to be more likely that his business is going well and that he's going to be able to repay me. So sometimes you want to know exactly who your audience is, and then you can tailor what your discussion is. But it can often be good to start with this one main spreadsheet that we showed you with the 3 scenarios listed on it, because from there, that's your overall picture of what you're looking for. And then from there, you can target it to different funders. So if there's a funder, like we said, that only does X, only can fund certain things in your whole list, then you can target it towards them. So it's true, you always have to know your audience. And when you're at a big event and there's a lot of people in the audience, then you want to keep it broad and you can target everybody. And I saw Samuel Kambale with his hand up, and also we'll follow that by Isaac. So Samuel, would you like to ask your question? Oops, let me invite you to speak. So sorry. Here you go. Oops, I see you're typing. Samuel, would you be able to, it looks like you've unmuted yourself. Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, I'm not Samuel. I don't even know how I joined with Samuel's account, because there has been a problem of joining the meeting from Kenya.
Welcome, welcome.
Yeah, my name is John. I was sent this link, and then when I joined, I think I joined using, I don't know how it happened.
It's okay. Welcome.
So I had a question that would kind of sound different from what we are learning today, because from my schedule, I can see today we were supposed to learn on restoration.
Yes.
monitoring, but
Yeah.
then I found that we are doing financial monitoring.
Yes.
I don't know, I got somehow confused
Okay.
because I had a problem trying to get in, and then when I get in, I got financial monitoring.
Yes,
Because
we had a last minute change. So if that was your question, that's okay. Do you have another question? It was a last minute change just because of scheduling issues. So we're definitely going to be having a session on restoration monitoring. It's going to happen probably 3 weeks from now as our last session.
All right, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you too for clarifying. So yeah, there's just been all these last minute things that along with the difficulty getting on from Kenya. So we want to thank everybody for your flexibility in learning an additional skill today. So thank you guys so much. And let me see, let's go to Isaac. Isaac, please go ahead with your question.
Yeah, good evening.
Hi.
Good evening. Yeah, that's my Isaac, speaking from Ghana.
Welcome.
Yeah, Showboys Farm. Showboys Farm. Yeah, in fact, I like your presentation today, especially when you talk about trust. Trust. When you want to start a business, you should have trust with your investor. Yes, yes. So what my question is, you see, we are producing a perishable goods like cabbage, okra, tomatoes. They are all perishable goods.
Yeah.
But my question is, this one, it doesn't last. It doesn't last. It doesn't last, and it will just get spoiled. So my question is, when you trust someone, most of the investors, we normally buy those things on credit base. They go and sell and bring you the money. So that is what normally happens in Ghana in terms of agriculture here. So my question is, we are talking about trust. As a beginner, as an investor, do I need to have such agreement with an investor? Come and buy my product, go and sell before you bring my money. Is it advisable to do that? Or you shouldn't do that at all? That is my question.
Okay, thanks. So I will make sure I understand it, but let me start with this response and see if it fits. Anything that you as a business owner can negotiate with anybody else that helps you achieve your business goals better, you should do it. So you should think of how you can do it and if it's useful for you to do it or not. So if it's, I didn't quite understand exactly the model of what you're talking about, but anytime you can get people to do things for you and you pay them later, thumbs up. Anytime that you can get somebody to give you something without you paying for it, and then you pay them back later, that sounds great. Anytime you can get somebody to pay you ahead of time for something, that's amazing. So you want to negotiate as much as you can. And obviously the more trust you have, the better terms you're going to be able to negotiate, no matter what that is. And it's more difficult to negotiate things that are more favorable to you or your business. But if you can identify win-win situations, then people will probably go along with you. And you can identify win-win situations by outlining the future. So again, that's where, I mean, a financial model can mean so many things, but it can mean outlining the future for your partners. If you can, I don't know, give me, again, I didn't quite understand your business model, so I'm really hard. I'm not able to do it. So let me just come up with a different business model. Farmers, if I can take your produce and transport it, and then once I sell it, I can give you the money, then, and you trust me because I've done it for you, in past years, I've done it for you on a small scale. Well, I want to do it for you on a large scale. Why would this be beneficial for you? Because if you allow me to do this, you will actually get more money because you have a perishable good. And I'm going to take all of your tomatoes and sell all of them, but I don't have enough money to buy them from you right now. But in 2 weeks, you're going to have your money and you're going to have your money for all your tomatoes. If you don't allow me to do that, I can buy half of your tomatoes with cash now. and you just won't get paid for the other part of them. And so that could be a win-win situation if they know from working with you before that you will pay them, if you can make a clear contract and sign it with them, and if you follow through with it. And so therefore, you're able to sell twice the number of tomatoes because they gave it to you on credit, and they're able to make twice the revenue. So there can be win-win situations. So I think that the point is everything in business is negotiation, and it's not always a win-lose situation. It's not always, I'm better off and you're worse off, so you need to give it to me. It can often be, we are both better off if we collaborate. And that is where, and that's the same thing when you're talking with investors as well. So if you can identify some win-wins, and if you've built the trust necessary, then you can go forward with that. Yeah. And maybe we'll take, I think, one more question here, and then I've got a few announcements before we switch over to pitching, because as Will let us know, we had a few people signed up for pitching, so we definitely want to get other voices on the line today. And we would invite everybody to listen in and be prepared to share feedback in the chat as well as verbally. So Rufin, I would like to invite you to share your question with us. Yes, Rufin, if you're there, I think that, yep, there you go, perfect. Rufin, I can't.
Allô, vous m'entendez?
Yes, good.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can I ask my question?
Yes.
Good morning to all.
Yes.
Apologies, I got connected a little bit late. I'm the founder of the BNB service company. I'm connected in DRC Congo in Lubumbashi. So this topic is a very interesting one today, since we are talking about investors. So I'm not part of the pre-selected 100 entrepreneurs. I'm from the previous batch, the previous cohort, but this is so interesting. I really wanted to speak. So I want to share a concern today, and I hope to have an answer. So you spoke about building trust with our investors. I think if I heard you well. So now the question I want to ask, apparently, I believe entrepreneurs are the one trusting investors more than investors trust entrepreneurs, because I'm working in the production of fertilizers, organic fertilizers here in Lubumbashi, but it's very difficult for us to catch the attention of investors. They don't really trust us, and we are in a very interesting market, a new kind of market. We really have a need of investment, but you don't see people willing to invest in our company. So I really want to know, what must I do to attract the investors, and how can they trust us as we trust them as company founders? So what are the tactics we can use and implement to get to that level with them? That's our concern. Thank you.
Well, that's a great question, Rufin, and that's pretty much the whole point of the entire Land Accelerator, is helping you do that through communications and through outreach. So having a well put together slide deck and a way to talk about your business is one way to definitely do that. That's why we're talking about having a site visit video, so that investors can start to learn about you before they even meet you. And the same thing about your website. For any product, many people need to see and interact with your company in many, many different ways over time before they decide to buy. In this case, if it's an investor, they need to interact with your company many times before they decide to invest. That could mean multiple meetings with you. That can mean seeing you out at community events, actually. Sometimes you can't plan this stuff. It could mean that they were able to check your website. They were able to check your Instagram. They could see some videos that you put up. They start to see that you're actually making money. Maybe they've been able to see through you your financials. Maybe they've been able to see your bank statements. So all of this starts with them believing that you're a company worth investing in, and that can start with the conceptual idea of the hook. That's where a video could come in, a good website, and just some overall things. So it depends on where you are on that journey, and the journey of trust building goes over time. But the first thing is for them to say, wow, that's an interesting business. I see them out there, or like their product is in all of these stores, and maybe there's different things you have to show. What can you show that you think would be very important? Maybe it's a couple of, again, key performance indicators. So every company needs to figure out what their own strengths are that they can highlight that would catch the attention of an investor. And that's what we try to do when we're talking about our pitch deck. But you can do that on your website. You can do that by calling up different investors in your area. Maybe there's different banks, and seeing what would be interesting to them. So for instance, if your product is in 100 stores, say that and take pictures of your product in at least 5 or 6 locations on the shelf. And you're like, look, this is us on the shelves, and we're actually in 100 stores in Kampala. I made it up. And people might say, well, that's really cool. So whatever is really cool about your business right now, that's what you want to focus on, and show it in pictures or some way to prove it. So I think that is going to start to build you trust. I wonder if Will had any other kinds of comments.
No, I think you nailed it at the very beginning, even Amanda. It's not just this one presentation. It's not just the financial model. It's everything we've spoken about over the past couple weeks, right? And even months at this point. It's everything from the video and the narrative you put together there to being polite, making sure that when you speak with everyone, you have your, that the very first day, I think we were talking about the 1 minute, the one line that we had to come up with at the very beginning.
Yes.
Everything from that one initial line that you give to someone, all the way through to the details of putting together your financial model and presenting it well in your pitch deck, that matters. Every single part of that matters, because you're going to have, maybe I can put it this way, even from that initial first line, right? That gets someone to ask you a question, right? That's what Looney was saying at the very beginning. If you have a very intriguing line that gets someone to ask you a question about your business, it's going to start a conversation. It's going to start a series of follow-up questions. And those questions should hopefully lead all the way to you presenting your pitch deck, all the way to you presenting your financial model, all the way to having a discussion and a negotiation about what type of investments is possible, right? And so being able to go into that grade of detail is going to give that trust to an investor. Because if you can prove that you can have this long and in-depth of a conversation, that's gonna provide a lot of trust.
And I would also want to say just one more thing that I think maybe we should have a separate training about sometime, is just to remember that even if you're the one who's going to be giving presentations or not, is not about you being a big shot. It's not about you proving how cool you are. It's really about remembering the mission of your company. And that mission can be whatever you think it is, whether it's, I want to give, opportunity to all the smallholder farmers in my network, or whether it's, I want to give the people who work in my factory decent employment. I want to provide a really good quality product that makes my country stand out in this marketplace. Whatever your mission is, think about your mission when you're talking to your investors. You don't have to be perfect. It's just about you letting the investors or whatever your audience is know the opportunity that exists, and you're just telling them about it. So that's just to kind of let you focus on what that trust building is about. The trust building is actually about the activities that you're doing. So just wanted to remind you of that. And I think that those are some really great questions. I wanted to switch over to maybe have maybe 1 or 2 people pitch, because we've got about 20 minutes left. And want to also highlight, we have a link to our attendance form in the chat box right now. And I did disable the chat so that the attendance form will stay there for people to continue to look at and to continue to open up during these next 20 minutes. as usual, if people were on this chat, please fill it out because it gives us a second data point to confirm and also to let us to see what your feedback is on this session. And before we go to pitching, I do want to announce something else. So we've been talking about deliverables today. We've kind of gone back to our pitching slides, and soon we're going to see people with pitching slides. And very important is that we do have a way for you to submit any deliverables you've been working on now. I believe that we put this to you in the WhatsApp group, but I just like to announce things again. I think we have a simple form. Let me click on the form and make sure I have the right one. Sorry, just wanted to double make sure. Okay. This is a form that gives you guidance. So right now we are collecting, we are able to collect your deliverables. So if you have started them and you want feedback, you should send them in to us. On this form that you click on, this Google Docs, it has guidance for you. So on this guidance sheet, it tells you a little bit about our program. It tells you a little bit about where you can submit your deliverables. So if you've only been working on one, but you want feedback, so say you've created your slide decks right now, and that's, you don't have a website yet, you don't have a video deck yet, that's okay. Up until July 15th, you can submit either 1, 2, or 3 of your deliverables, and we'll be working to give you feedback within 1 to 2 weeks time. Wanted to say, why would you want to do this? One, we're going to have to be checking to make sure that everybody's deliverables meet at least a floor of acceptability. So we'll be able to tell you that if you meet that floor of acceptability in order to graduate our program, our 12-week program, and be eligible to be selected to join us in Ghana. So this is going to be important. So if you send anything to us ahead of time, you'll be able to breathe easy because we'll tell you, yes, this fits our minimum requirements. And if you're interested, here are some suggestions that you might implement to make your project even stronger. Everything, this is always your business. You can always decide what feedback you implement or not. But it's a great way to get more experts' eyes on what you're doing. So yeah, again, that's available from now until July 15th. Go ahead and submit anything that you'd like us to take a look at. After July 15th, we will be sharing the actual link for you to submit for real to graduate. And then at that point, we'll be looking, and if your 3 deliverables fit the minimum guidelines, which we have provided in this document right there, then we will actually, we won't say anything. It'll just be accepted. We'll probably tell you it's been accepted. And if it doesn't, we will write back to you and say, hey, this doesn't meet our minimum requirements and here's why. And so we have more details on what that all looks like on this document that I put into the chat. So we've got 2 things in the chat box right now. We've got those details, and we've also got the attendance sheet. So scroll up on your meeting chat if you haven't gotten a chance to see either of those things. Thank you. And I wanted to ask Will, if Will could maybe identify who the next person who wanted to pitch is.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go in order that they came in, if that's all right.
Oh,
Amanda.
that sounds
That's
great.
okay. So the first one is Faye International, I think.
Could you, whoever is pitching next, if you can raise your hand, that will help us to unmute you so that you can present. So that was Anne. Okay, perfect. I'm going to ask you to unmute, and I think you should be able to share your screen, but if you can't, let me know.
Hello. Hi. Okay, so I am, let's see here. I see the options for the whiteboard, but I am
Share screen?
Share screen. Okay, great. Here we go.
Oh, perfect.
And, okay. Start broadcasting. Excellent. Second. And
I'm seeing, oh, this is cool. Perfect.
can you see it?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
yes.
great.
I think this is from
Thank
your
you.
phone. Mhm.
Yes. Okay. Well, hello everyone, and thank you. We're Faye Bamboo, and we are here presenting for a pitch within the legacy of Sarah Galloway. who started Fay International in 1980. And if I can see here. Okay, so we have our land degradation, deforestation, and importance of dependence here. With our environmental impact, our land degradation, over 45% of the land in Ghana has been degraded by illegal mining activities and deforestation, resulting in our significant loss of our forest covering, leading to a biodiversity loss and climate change impacts. With our economic impacts here, we have a heavy resilience on importing tree products from North America and Europe. And with this does result in a high cost due to the importation and the vulnerability to the supply chains disruptions. As we all know, with the recent issues with COVID, that brought a lot of thinking on our feet and what do we do to keep our supply chain going and how can we meet our customer clientele needs. With Fay Bamboo, we have our sustainability cultivation. We have established a 150-hectare bamboo plantation to restore degraded lands in Oda Forest Reserve. We've been very fortunate to have this, and we look forward to working within this area. With our local processing, we will develop capabilities to produce our finished products. The environmental benefits that we look forward to and we're working on currently are the reforestation, the land rehabilitation, our carbon capturing, and what reduces the soil erosion and the quality of the soil. Working to, work on the grade of the soil and the land. Our economic benefits, our carbon credits, our reduced importance of our dependency, and lowering the cost to reduce their supply chain vulnerabilities. And one that we are really looking forward to is the job creation for the local Ghanaian area. Customers in our market base, our efforts and focus, we have 70% of bamboo and bamboo-based products for the international markets, with North America, Europe, and other regions with a high demand for sustainable products. Europe, the paper towel market was valued at in 22 for 4.8 billion. And also in 22, the North America budget was 64 billion. And these are really high numbers, with our domestic market of 30% supply for our local industries. With our market opportunity, we look to increase global demand for sustainable materials, working with the bamboo industry to projected to grow significantly. We are looking for a global bamboo paper market to see a value of 2.6 billion in 2023 and expected to reach up to 3.85 billion by 2030, with a potential to capture a significant market share as the first African company within this space. With our competition, China really dominates the scale with their cost efficiency and their broad product portfolio. With India and Vietnam, they are growing investment and they support policies and increasing global market presence. With our Fay International limited competitive edge, we have a unique position as the first African company with the bamboo sector tapping into the continent's vast, underutilized resources and our labor cost benefits. With proximity to Europe and other export markets offering potential logistical advantages and emphasis on high quality sustainable bamboo products that meet the international standards. With our sustainable practices, our commitment is to the environment is to restore a restoration by using degraded land for bamboo cultivation, including investment opportunities in the form of grant funding. Our unique selling points, being the first African company in a large-scale bamboo production, leveraging the continent's untapped potential. And as we all know, there is a wonderful market differentiation, claiming degraded land, the cost effectiveness, the community engagement, and empowerment. Our environmental restoration, carbon sequestering, our eco-friendly products, our certifications, our skill development, innovation, and product diversification. We are Fay Bamboo. And as our company was started in 1980 by Sarah Galloway, she started with sustainability as her focus and innovatively hiring more women that was out in the common market. Faye International Limited has been producing sanitary products in Ghana since 1980. We are committed to the environment and are transitioning from wood pulp to locally grown bamboo based on raw materials to enhance its sustainability. This is our incredible team. Everyone here is just really focused and passionate about our projects and being innovative and on top of everything that we can to help with our world and the degraded lands. Our financial overview, our projections are 16,800 CCDs annually with 2025 to 2030. We see, $4,860 to $12,113 annually. With our revenue projections and our production of raw materials, our profitability timeline, we expect profitability within 3 to 5 years. Our funding requirements and allocation, with a total funding needed of $500,000 USD, our research and development center would be a cost of $150,000 for research, development, and infrastructure. The bamboo plantation for $350,000 for the establishment and initial operations of the 150 hectares and for the bamboo plantation. Then our project roadmap, milestones, and timelines. Within the first 9 months, our initial startup and our land preparation for the plantation and establishment. From our 9th month to our second year, the research and development center setup and plantation maintenance. For our first 2 to 3 years, our initial harvest. And then within our first 5 years, our growth strategy and future expansion plans. With the mill and the vertical integration, product diversification with the market expansion and strategic partnerships with sustainability and leadership. And this is our contact information. We are very excited about this project and with the opportunity to work eventually with internationally. Each one of us here at Faye Bamboo are focused on our legacy. As Sarah Galloway started it, and as we honor her legacy and her work in what we do every day, our focus is in hopes that there's generations that come that continue this legacy for Faye Bamboo and inspiring the market everywhere to utilize and bamboo and become more sustainable. And we look forward to hearing any comments back from you on what we could do to improve. And we also invite you to engage within our project and explore our partnership opportunities.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So then now I start to think about, are there questions or comments from anybody here, including Will, Abdurrahman, and also anybody else from the peers as well. So definitely want to encourage people, if they have, to go ahead and raise your hands. And we can start with the comments because sometimes it takes people a few seconds to run and raise their hands or something. I see definitely Joseph, but people are raising their hands. So we'll go for that, and then we'll come back to us because we're always here. Joseph, would you like to go ahead, followed by Mudin?
And just to make sure, am I done sharing my screen?
Yes, yeah, it can be hard. Yep. Joseph, we've invited you to chat with us. Go ahead.
Bonjour encore for the picture.
Welcome.
Yes.
Okay, good morning once more. Am I heard?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much.
Que nous venons d'écouter, que nous venons de voir également, qui a été présenté.
I want to talk about the presentation. It was properly done, but while looking at it at first, I think it's not really following what was presented to us as model to follow. That's the first comment I want to give as far as the forum is concerned. I think that it will be better to review it. And I think also, secondly, there are a lot of writings. So much so that an investor who is really interested, he will have to read a lot of documents at the same time. Meanwhile, if you have just a little bit of writings, that is more interesting. But if there are so many writings, they might feel sluggish to go through all what you have written. So I think we have to correct that to present something interesting. So that's what I wanted to say. So the form, the content, and also the wordings. Thank you.
So I turned on my captions in English, but I got something about a 10-year plan. And as entrepreneurs wanting to present a further, was it a 10-year plan? Is there somebody that is available to help translate so I may more adequately answer that response?
They're interpreting for you already. So if you understood his comments.
I apologize. I am unable to hear them.
That's because you didn't, so you didn't understand any of his question because you didn't have the interpretations turned on?
Joseph?
I don't have the interpretation. I guess maybe not, but I did close caption, but it was coming up more in adjectives than a full sentence. So
I can just re-ask. Give me 1 second. Joseph?
thank you.
Joseph, je suis désolé parce que
Joseph, apologies for some reasons. She didn't get the interpretation. Please, can you repeat your question in 2 sentences? Is there a connection issue or what? Go on, Joseph. Ask your question.
That was too wordy.
Yes, he said too wordy, and he said there's a problem with the
That he felt the pitch was too wordy.
yeah, the form and the content as well. Those are the 2 questions, like the form and the content. And
Okay.
Amanda, can you hear me?
So we have officially 1 minute left. So I'm just gonna have to say sorry. Next time we'll remind everybody one more time to definitely select interpretation and put English, because that's what we need in order to understand our French speakers. And sometimes if you get disconnected and come back in, you have to do it again, and you won't catch that until somebody speaks French. So we'll apologize, but I'm going to probably follow on with Joseph's point of view anyway, so you can kind of get the point of view. First of all, your company is doing amazing things. I really appreciated a lot of the pictures. Something that was hard for me, and I didn't catch it till the end, was, well, what your company's actually doing. And I think that the problem statement is good and it makes sense. So go ahead and talk about the problem statement, but you can even start to bring your company in at that point. You know, Faytech, I forgot exactly what it was, Fay Bamboo, has been a company since 1980, and we have been producing like the sanitary products from wood pulp. We are transitioning to bamboo. Here's what our plan is, and here's what we need. Because even now, I was not sure what stage I found myself asking questions very early on, like, well, this is what you want to do, but what's your current traction? And it's like, no, your company has traction. It's just that you're adding a new product line because it's the right thing to do. You're adding new raw material, source of raw material. You're changing it, you know, from wood pulp to bamboo, and that's going to be a process that takes time. So that's an exciting story, and I didn't catch it until the end because I was like, oh, so look at all these cool things you want to do, carbon credits, you want to plant 150-hectare farm. Okay, but what have you done already? And if you didn't know the whole idea of your company, like, people will start to, you know, they'll have a different thing in mind. But if you're like, no, we're a big company, we're doing great things, but we've been doing it with wood pulp and we want to do it with bamboo pulp. And maybe the story is even, we've been doing it with imported wood pulp, like it's double bad, you know, whatever. You don't have to push yourself down, but like, you know, this is what we're going to go for, and here's why we see a business opportunity. And then if you're seeking funding, you can share from whom you're seeking funding and why. Like we want to put in 20% of that from our business profits, and we're seeking loans for 65% of it, maybe all, because maybe you guys are not seeking equity, but then we will understand what you need in order to get that project started. Because a lot of the things were clear. I think that for me, was the context until the end. I was like, oh my God, I know that company, now I get it, I remember them exactly. So that's my general feedback. And I want to open,
Thank you.
Will had any general feedback additionally.
Yeah, no, I echo what Amanda just said. I wasn't sure, unfortunately, what you did until the very end. But the only other thing I would say in terms of presentation was probably too many words on the slide, and getting to a point where there's one or two bullet points, and you can fill in all the context and the rest of the sentence. It's okay to have incomplete sentences. It's okay to have a few numbers or statistics, and you can fill us in with the oral narrative. That being said, there's definitely it's okay to have different pitch decks for different settings, right? If you know someone's just going to be reading it, absolutely fine. The one you presented. If you know you're going to be presenting it, it's okay to cut a few words to make it snappier, easy to follow on with the narrative. I know you didn't expect to present today, so you didn't have the chance to do that. So I'm not holding that against you in any way. There's no judgment there. It's just for everyone to know that they can have that option to have different versions. I think one thing we see and we tell people is to have one kind of base version of your pitch deck that has everything, the financial model, all the details you want, and it's okay to chop that up and to change it to fit the narrative who you're speaking to. We do the same thing even as an investment fund when we speak to whoever we're speaking with, to make sure the narrative is attuned to what they're interested in. But
Perfect. Thank you so much for all that feedback. That's very helpful. Thank you. Thank you.
And I think that we would say we had 3 other volunteers. Oops, we went over. We are going to have a chance to do this on an upcoming Thursday. And I wanted to talk with Will right now to remind me, because I'm looking at my syllabus and I'm seeing blanks. So I didn't fill it in, it looks like. So Will, when are you going to have your upcoming session on AI? Is it this 27th or is it the 4th?
Yes, it is on Thursday, the 27th.
Okay, so
Yes.
I don't know if you want to give yourself a little shout out and talk a little bit about it for a second so that people will come back on Thursday.
For sure. So on Thursday, we're going to have a presentation with myself and another Barca expert on technology and AI. We're really excited. We just confirmed she's going to be able to come just before we got on the call, actually. And we're going to speak about how to use different types of new technology and different types of artificial intelligence programs that have recently shown up to help make your business more efficient, so that you can actually get more done, so that you can get more of the administrative stuff out of the way, and you can focus on the content and the hard stuff that really matters. So we're going to talk about a few different methods to help you out, give you some concrete examples. Yeah, it should be a really good session. It's one that's always popular when we do different versions in similar groups. So hopefully it's a great session on Thursday. I'm not sure how much time we'll have at the end of that session, Amanda, on Thursday, but knowing that we have 4 people who wanted to pitch today, I'll keep the list. And if we have time, we can call them out. Why not? Obviously, we'll take the questions on AI and everything, but if we can fit in 1 or 2 more people, it's always great to hear it. So I'll keep that in mind.
That sounds awesome. So this Thursday, definitely join us. Next Thursday, I think we're going to dedicate the whole Thursday to pitching. So we'll have a couple of people pitch to the whole group, and then we'll have people split into small groups. So get ready with your pitch. If you weren't one of the 4 companies that signed up today, get your pitch ready and get ready for next Thursday. So like 9 days from now. And we hope we'll see you there. And really excited for the session on Thursday. And thank you guys so much for your flexibility today and for learning something new. And we'll be getting these recordings up and onto Restore Forward. And we also look forward to providing feedback to the deliverables, your video, your website. Literally, if you have a website, just link to it and send it to us and we'll take a look at it, and your slide decks. And give it a shot to try our 12 deck slide. We've got all of the templates and all of the recordings from our sessions to go into detail if you need to revisit it on our Restore Forward link. You can find our Restore Forward link in the description section of our WhatsApp group as well. So that's a good place to always check for it. So I think that's all the announcements we have now. I'm sure if Samuel or Victor were here, they would have better announcements and more. We miss them and all of our colleagues who are in Kenya who might not have been able to join us. We are thinking of you in this recording, and thank you all for being able to join us today, and see you next week. And if anybody wants to, you can say goodbye and we'll just end this meeting and see you next week. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Will, too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you so much.
Merci à tous. Bye. À la
Bye,
prochaine.
guys. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye. Au revoir.
Au revoir. Merci, merci, merci.
Goodbye.
Avance.